To me, discipline is the number one transferable skills that anyone can utilize in any shift of career, any moment of life, right?
I need to think long-term where I want to be. I don't want to be working forever. I got to think about making my money work for me.
Don't do what works for everybody because it's not gonna work for you, man.
So the sooner you get the game plan in place, the sooner you actually start taking action, the better off you'll be.
That's my best advice that I can give to people. Vision, long-term thinking, and just create a roadmap and just execute.
Welcome to the Free Factor podcast. I'm your host, Scott DeVore, aka Free. Oh, wait. I'm actually going to do this in Italian. Benvenuti a Free Factor podcast con il mio ospite speciale Emmanuele Sembroni. How'd I do?
You did fantastic, man. You're totally Italian. Lo apprezzo molto. Thank you so much.
I appreciate
Scotty.
that.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I got Manny Sembroni here. Manny, the Italian stallion, Italian stud, former footballer, professional, now doing big things in the entrepreneurial space, in the financial planning space. Manny, thank you for joining the podcast. How have you been?
I'm being fantastic, man. Thank you so much for having me. And it's always a pleasure when you're coming down here to Florida. We got to spend some time together. This is like a blessing, man. I appreciate it.
I love seeing you, man. We connected through Valuetainment, Patrick Bet David, through all that, attending the conferences. I really love speaking with you because you inspire me. You're so motivated. You're so driven in becoming a better person, and just your family life and your professional life. And man, just love being down here every time I come down to Lauderdale and seeing you, bro.
And much love back to you, because I think anybody that is part of our community has an inspirational story, has a unique background, and I think we can all learn from each other. So it's the same love to you, man, and everything that you're doing to not only your profession and your community, but also like what you bring into my life. And this is what brought us together today. So I believe it's going to be a nice conversation to have.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I want to jump in because you're a former retired professional athlete and you transitioned into financial services. What made you make that transition into that career?
That's a great question. You know, when you don't know exactly where you are in life and you're trying to figure it out, I guess that's what it is for every athlete, right? We only think about the present. We think about what's the next game, what's the next practice, how it's going to look like. But it's hard for us to think long term. But at the end of the day, it's a short-term career. So what brought me to this transition is seeing a lot of my teammates, a lot of friends, like brothers, right? Retiring broke. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be that guy. But most of all, I want to provide accountability to all my teammates. And that's what brought me to that type of transition and the type of figure that was very hard to build at the beginning, I would say.
Nice. Because I'm sure you had a lot of options. Like looking at you, man, you're like, I don't know how tall you are, 6'5". You probably could have been walking runways as a professional model, but you chose something not as glamorous. But man, I know you're helping a lot of people and you're doing some great things. So when you were early in your childhood, what made you pick up that football over, or did you try other sports? Was there like a natural progression? Like, hey, I think this is the best opportunity for me to focus on this sport. Like, what was it like in your childhood?
You bring me to very, very good memories. I actually started with my father, which was a very important figure, as he was also trying to be a professional soccer player, right? But then the love for my mother made him turn into a different choice. And when I was very young, I was down in Rome in Trastevere, right? I would say the American way. And my dad was a karate and judo instructor. So I started with martial art. But then, 1994, there is the World Cup in the US. So this is where I fell in love with two things. Number one, with the ball, with soccer. And number two, with the United States. So that's how it happened.
Awesome. And you ended up going to Penn State. And like I grew up not too far from there. I'm from Western Maryland. I actually lived in South Central Pennsylvania for a little bit, so not too far from State College. So you transitioned for that, then you went professional for a while, And when you actually decided, okay, my career is over, and I know you picked financial services and you shared a little bit of that. What was the hardest thing though, making that transition for you? Like, was it just getting up to speed with the financial terminology, or did you already get a lot of that? Was your degree in finance in college? Like, what was the challenges you had to overcome?
That's a great question, man. I would say recreating myself was the hardest challenge. Imagine that the way that people see you, looking at you, you are the professional footballer, right? And now you are trying to educate others with their finances, which is like, completely different, right? So that's what I believe was the major challenge. And transitioning to Penn State after retirement was a crucial part for me, because of course I was part of the work campus, and it was a great side of discovery, right? Now imagine I'm 32 years old, I go back to school, right? And I want to challenge myself in a different country like the US, in one of the most prestigious schools. And I did it for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to elevate my thinking and shift my mindset into, a US-based type of approach. Coming from Italy, you understand. But what really made me as the person that I have today is when I was playing soccer in Switzerland. So I remember that time where I made the mindset shift, and I got myself a financial professional, and I told him, hey, now you got to teach me everything that you know about finances. And this is where I fell in love with my new profession and brought me until today and the person that I am.
Nice. So from playing professional sports at that level, it takes discipline, dedication, hard work, showing up early, staying late. I'm sure those skills has transferred over to your career now, post your playing days, that has put you further ahead than probably the competition. Would you agree? Does that sound like a fair statement?
I totally agree with you. I agree with you because we have, as athletes, right? We have a natural gift, and then you have something that you build over time. Discipline, it's built over time, right? And you have great mentors and great teammates that you encounter, which you can learn and you can adapt based on their success and based on how you get inspired. But to me, discipline is the number one transferable skills that anyone can utilize in any shift of career, any moment of life, right? And this is what I did. If for soccer was waking up early, have nice breakfast, get myself ready, go to the physical therapy, get in the field, practice, repeat for many years of my life. With my practice is the same. Getting up early, do my emails, do my reading, do my breakfast, do my meditation, do my fitness, prep the day, go out there, still different field, right?
Yeah.
And do it all day long. And I'm excited about it, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned your dad being an inspiration, kind of helping kind of get you in the direction of going down the professional sports path that you did. And we mentioned earlier, we kind of connected through Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David. I know he's a mentor in your life. What's like the biggest thing that you have learned from just being part of the masterminds, going to the Patrick Bet-David events, like the Vault coming up? I think that's where we actually met for the first time in person. What's the biggest thing that you've learned from being part of those organizations?
Great question, man. If you ask me in one word, I would say community. But if you ask me the value is that, Scotty, you're not alone. And that's the biggest value that I got from them, is like, in the hardest moment of my life, going through some rough challenges at home, right? Having the opportunity to have somebody to talk to, somebody that has a drive that is higher than mine. And that's like, I don't want to be the best one in the room, ever. As you know, we are surrounded by so many like-minded individuals with different quality and different skills. For me, it was accountability. It was the accountability I was looking for. And thanks to many people, and in premise to PPD, the community, but also to my Tyler, right? I feel myself blessed to any choice I made, but most of all, how I was rescued in that moment.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I love being a part of that community, and I've gained so much just from not just from Patrick and even Tom Ellsworth. I'm part of his mastermind, but just like you said, that community, connecting with other entrepreneurs, people who are out there who are just working on themselves, personal development, who want to go take over the world, go crush it. But then you get to know people like family person, values, your spiritual life, all important factors, man. So like the community kind of brings people together, and it's just a beautiful thing. As I kind of think about what you do professionally, can you explain the fundamental principles of a financial game plan and why it's crucial for both individuals and businesses?
That's a great question. And you know that being part of our community, you are certainly a fan of anticipation, right? So I have a proactive mindset, and this is applicable if you are an individual or if you are a business owner. But there is a big difference, right? So let's start talking about individually. Like if I am an employee or person that is part of a corporate and a large institution, right? You are pretty much set up when it comes to any benefit that you get from the employer, right? So your mindset is different. You are, okay, this is what I get, this is what I do, this is how I do it, right? But there is a big difference when it comes to being your own business, right? Which you are your most valuable asset of on the table over there.
Mm-hmm.
So anticipation plays a crucial side. And what I mean is it all starts with the foundation, right? It's like when you build a church, man. And build a church, the church is built on solid foundations. And then brick by brick, you bring the church and then you put the people inside of it, right?
Yeah.
The same it can be said about your financial game plan. It's not different. But the biggest thing, it's about prioritization. And that's where it all starts.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Prioritizing, but even just the foundation, it's first having a plan. Because most people, they just go and work, they make money, they put the money in the checking account. Some might even do better, maybe put some away in savings. Some might, oh, well, I guess I need to get a 401k, with my employer. And then some might even take it to the next level. Like, okay, it's good because I got 401k, my company probably doesn't match. But man, I need to think long-term where I want to be. I don't want to be working forever. I got to think about making my money work for me. And that's why they need someone like you who can kind of guide them and help them fast track their retirement so that it can exponentially grow. Because the biggest thing when it comes to this is compounding interest. So the sooner you get the game plan in place, the sooner you actually start taking action, the better off you'll be. Because think about $1,000 compounded interest, whatever that rate is, over 5 years looks a lot different than $1,000 compounded over 30 years. So the sooner you work with someone who can guide you and help you make those right decisions, the better off you'll be. And you'll be in a much better place and you won't regret it. Because the biggest thing is, even if you waited, it's still never too late to start actually being smart with your money, hiring somebody who actually understands the markets, understands investing at a very high level to, especially if you get in late, help you fast track all that lost time, right? And I think that's what you do well.
I appreciate the compliment. And what I think makes the biggest difference is the team, right? So being surrounded with experts in every area and specialized in one of them, you bring the hospitality experience at the service of your people, right? And to me, when referring to what you just said, I like to go with analogies, right? To me, is the younger or the sooner I decide to take action, the higher my action will compound over time, right? So that's all about that, taking that first step. And it's not only about the actual one-time execution of your game plan, but it's how do I stick with that plan? Because that's when it comes to what you say, long-term, right? It's a shift on mindset. It's the long-term game that win the championship, right?
Yeah.
So I love what you say, man.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital. We are a multi-service construction, real estate, and development company. We do services from ground-up development to roofing services to real estate transactions. Reach out to us at 844-4DeVore or at the website link below. So think about investment strategies. You have someone who's just starting out versus a seasoned individual. What are some investment strategies for them to help them diversify their opportunities?
That's a great question. Let's create an analogy over here because I'm a soccer guy, right? So let's say that I am a rookie. I just signed my first contract, and I go into the game, and I have very little experience about playing in certain level. The same can be said with your finances, right? So it's all about understanding the rules of the game, right? And then solidify, putting solid foundation on that and build on top of it. Keep working hard, right? And the same thing you can do with your finances. Let them work hard for you, man. And how does that happen? It happens with the people that you surround yourself with, right? When it comes to having somebody that is already a seasoned person, right? And it's already there for many years. It's a different ballgame because you're playing in a different division. So the tool that you use on a lower level comparing to the tools that you use on a higher level cannot be the same, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how I see any instruction, any opportunities that comes for different type of individual.
Yeah, I love it. I love the soccer analogies, man. Anytime there's a sports analogy, man, I'm digging it. What are your top recommendations for managing and paying off debt, particularly for business owners who might have taken loans to scale their operations?
Great question. I think it's about creating self-awareness, right? And if you're not able to create self-awareness, not a problem. That's why we exist. So that's the first step. Understanding what's going on in your life. What do I mean? Budget. And I know that we always, I'm a husband as well. You go home, you're busy. Your priority list is different, right? I got to wake up. I got to take care of my kids. Got to get them to school. I got to go to work. I got to perform. Go home, repeat. You arrive at the end of the day exhausted. Now, this is where we come in place and we help you to prioritize and put the budget at the top of your list. Why? Because that's where opportunity comes. When you know what's going on, when you know what's coming in, when you know what's going on, right? This is how the game plan starts. And again, self-awareness is the best gift that can be brought or you can bring to yourself to somebody else's life.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, being self-aware. It's sad how many people aren't self-aware. And it takes somebody who's kind of outside, because when you're kind of in whatever you're doing, you're not really seeing what other people are saying. So having other people and this is where that community really kind of plays in, where you got people who you trust and you have a relationship with, whether they're a mentor or a peer, whoever, they can help open up and make you aware of the blind spots where you might be falling short, or if you're going in an area where you're headed for potential destruction. So that self-awareness is key. Retirement planning. How should entrepreneurs approach retirement planning differently from traditional employees, and what are some common pitfalls to avoid?
I love it because I can talk about different phases, like when it comes to what I experienced, because I experienced both phases, right? So imagine this. You come from the world of sports, and me, I played in Europe, I played in the US, right? But it depends where you play, and not everybody has the privilege to have a retirement plan. And athletes, especially where I come from, unless you qualify through the years to that retirement plan, you don't actually reach it. So for myself, that I passed from Italy to Switzerland to the US, imagine that. It's not a retirement plan. But how do you create your own is not that difficult, but it is, okay? So let me try to understand where I want to go. It's all about discovering your options. What do I mean is, who are the people, right, that I can relate to, and what did they do to create their self-retirement planning, or what are the professionals that they're going to help me to create that option for me in the future, right? Sometimes what we do is as an entrepreneur, we only focus on today, going non-stop, working hard. But we forget that time goes fast, right? It is different when I transition into what I do and have a solid organization behind me, right? Where they give me having all the resources that you can possibly imagine, where, okay, I just got to click a button and I got my retirement strategy, right? So I think to me, it's about how you create that option and the people that you select that they're going to be the runmate with you long-term with that option.
I love it. We're in some uncertain economic times. We have a presidential election, big one coming up, and it was almost a landslide for Trump. That's kind of where it's leaning towards. And then the world changed so fast. There was a assassination attempt. Then Biden decided that he wasn't going to run for re-election. Then Kamala Harris comes in, and it seems like she's kind of been getting some momentum where it almost seemed like it was going to be a Trump landslide. And now, we're in these uncertain times. We don't know if one party, is going to continue that's in office, if Kamala is elected, or if Trump gets reelected. But think of the economic uncertainties that we're in. What steps can individuals and businesses take to build financial resilience and ensure long-term stability?
Great question. I believe that in moment of uncertainty is where the opportunity comes, right? So now there are, let's say, two types of individuals, right? There are the individual when the opportunity comes and they kill her in execution. There are other individuals that when the opportunity comes, they kill her on stepping back from execution and they bring in emotions, right? Mm-hmm. So what I believe is you have to be able to understand yourself, right? And this is a lot about psychology. Any decision that we make, it's influenced by a couple of things. Number one can be your background. It can be bad experience. It can be external factors like, the current moment of with election and everything. What I think is wise to do is just understand what's your financial mindset is, and then make it work based on your belief. When you do that, you are in control of your choices, mm-hmm. you are in control of your emotions, and you will do what works for you. So what is the downside is don't do what works for everybody, because it's not gonna work for you, man. Yeah. Right? So identify, and then if you're not able to identify, go talk to the people that you trust, right? Go talk to the professional out there and ask questions. And then you're gonna get your answers, and then you will know what to do.
Yeah, that's so good. Great advice. When you transitioned, you made a major transition from not just, I don't know I don't know if it was an easy transition from Italy to Switzerland, then from Switzerland here to the U.S. I'm sure that was probably a harder transition to go across the Atlantic and here. And then you transition from, professional athlete to financial services. My question is, what advice would you give for somebody looking to make a major transition in their career?
Great question. I love it. All right. I'll give you a story. Okay, I like stories. So when I was playing in Italy, I didn't know I was ending up in Switzerland. And when I was in Switzerland, I didn't know I was going back to Rome. And going back to Rome would have led me to my future wife, American, Italian, then would have led me to the American dream that I always dreamed of, right? And then challenging myself in America. So to me, the best advice is follow your heart, but most of all, build a strong vision. Okay? Simple as that. Now, it's not hard to build a vision. When it's hard, stick with the vision because it's long term, and it always go down to short versus long term. Short gratification, man. Short-term gratification. Oh, it looks so good right now, but then tomorrow I'm already unsatisfied. Long-term gratification. It's invisible, it's painful, you don't see it, it's not tangible, you cannot touch it, right? But then all of a sudden, boom, one day you might wake up living the American dream and doing all the things that you always dreamed of. Plus, becoming American, that was my other dream of my life, which I did. God bless America for sure. But that's my best advice that I can give to people. Vision, long-term thinking, and just create a roadmap and just execute.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
I am Will with DCRE, DeVore Capital Real Estate. We want to help you with your buying and selling real estate transactions. We know in the economy and the market that we have today, everybody is telling you that it is impossible to buy or to sell. We know that we can get the deal done. Give us a call at 844-4DeVore or hit the link below. Have a great day.
The American dream. I relate. So my mom is from Vietnam, and she came to the U.S. in the late 70s at the end of this war. And she loved the American dream. And I've shared this a few times just talking with others where my dad's American, my dad's a white guy, and my mom's from Vietnam. And she didn't teach me anything about so much about the culture, how to speak Vietnamese. I didn't anything. So when I was a little bit older, I remember asking my mom, "Hey, why did you never teach me how to speak Vietnamese, like your language?" And she said, "I wanted you to be American because of all the pain and the hardships and the trials and tribulations she was going through leaving Vietnam. To her, America was freedom, and she wanted her kids, me and my brother and sister, to be free. And she loved the American dream, and she instilled that in me in a young age. And I just really applaud people who come from other countries who understand that this is the best opportunity that there is in the world to create success for yourself. You can start with nothing and you become anything that you want. If you put the work in, you put the time in, you're willing to sacrifice, you're willing to do whatever it takes. And to still see people who, you've been here for a little bit, but it's not like you've grew up here. You came here as an adult to understand and to talk. So, just this love of this country, of America, and to have that dream, man. I'm so inspired by that. So I appreciate you and doing that, because it's just sad. People who are born and raised here, generations that go back, and then they just trash this country, and then they don't realize, it's the greatest experiment that ever was created back in the 1700s or whenever, and to this day, it's still the best country, in the world. So thank you for what you do, bro.
Thank you, man.
What's the future for you? I know you got your thing going on here, but what's the future, and what do you want your legacy to be when you hang up I know you already hung up the cleats, you've already retired from that. I don't know if you still play rec or anything like that. I'm sure you probably do a lot of stuff just to stay in shape. But when it's all said and done, what do you want the legacy for Emmanuele Sembroni to be?
That's a great question. I always go with my wife on 5-year plans, right? So we finished our first 5-year plan last year, right? And looking back to our vision board and things that we wanted to accomplish, 99.9% was done. So we said, okay, there is that 0.001% left over, right? Let's create another challenge. Let's go for another 100%, right? Let's try to get 100%. So the next 5 years, it's going to be literally about scaling myself to scale my life. I don't know if it makes sense, but I hope it does. What I mean is, I'm always someone that creates a challenge, also if it doesn't have a challenge. I know I'm that crazy, right? Because That's my nature. I cannot change that. But that's honestly what drives me. And Marguerite is even better, hopefully, that we need that challenge to be ourselves, right? So next 5 years, certainly I want to be a leader for many, many people out there that they're looking to not only scaling like a career or helping others, right? But they're looking for salvation, man. We live in a world that is very, very challenging, right? And how do we keep that value high if we new leaders? So to me, I'm striving to be a better leader every single day. And I hope that my story and my imperfection will drive other people to find their own imperfection and to keep working on it, to that invisible and impossible research of being perfect, which doesn't exist, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Manny, it's been a pleasure. Any parting advice that you would give? Any inspiration you want to share with the audience as we wrap up?
Yes. So the American dream is alive. And I will never stop saying that. I see a lot of leaders saying that. But it's the perspective of the American dream that is different. My American dream cannot be like yours. Vice versa. So I do believe that if you find what the American dream is for you, man, well, there you reach your freedom. And if it's materialistic things, spiritually, or anything that works for you, just go find it. It's gonna work.
Yeah, awesome. I butchered the intro when I tried to do it in Italian. I'm going to ask you, can do me a favor. Can you do an outro in Italian for me? Just say,
Certo.
Thank you for checking out the Free Factor podcast. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, however you want to end it.
Okay.
It would be an honor if you could do that.
Grazie per aver visto la Free Factor podcast. Per favore, fai sicuro di sottoscrivi nel link below. And ti ringrazio di cuore, amico mio. Grazie a voi per averci guardato anche.
Grazie. This is Scott DeVore, Free Factor Podcast with my man, Manny Sembroni. Until next time, ciao.
Ciao, baby.
Real interviews, real guests, no actors. Real talk, get prepared for Free Factor.